Alright, so what I've got for you today is a presentation of Tyvar the Bellicose, my new black-green Elves deck, but before I get to Tyvar, I need to rebalance Voja to pull some cards for Tyvar. So let's see what we're going to do. I've already decided two things I'm going to do. The third thing I still have to think about. So the cards that are going in are Ambush Wolf. Ambush Wolf is 3 for a 4/2 flashy wolf. Then when he comes into play, I get to exile the card from graveyard. It's a common. He's not really impressive. He doesn't have fantastic stats. He is flashy in his... The thing about wolves is there aren't that many good wolves. They're not. Which means, as you know, people typically when they play Voja, they cheat like motherfuckers. They put in all kinds of shapeshifter changelings. They put in Maskwood Nexus. I didn't do that. Voja already feels like you're cheating when you play him. He feels like you're passing the test by cheating from your friend. So 2 green, red, white for a 5/5 legendary wolf with vigilance, trample, and ward 3. Fucking outstanding. Whenever he attacks, you get X 1/1 counters for every creature you control. All of them. For the number of elves you control. And you draw a card for every single wolf you control. All of them. So you get a big hand and you get big creatures. And all he has to do is go rushing over at your opponents. So right now, Voja has 19 elves and I believe it's 15 wolves. Let me just take a look again. I'll just go to Moxfield, EDH decks, Voja's Jaws. Group by subtype. So he's got 19 elves and 15 wolves. So if I take out 2 elves and I add 2 wolves, then they're both at 17-17, which is more balanced. I wanted the kind of balance before. I just didn't do it because the elves, there's a lot of good elves, and there's not a lot of good wolves. But now building Tyvar, I need some of his elves to go into Tyvar. Need some of Voja's elves, and some of them I would like to get a second copy of. For example, Well-Wisher. But even if I ordered it today, I would not get it in time for Thursday. And I want to play Tyvar on Thursday, so I need the Well-Wisher out of Voja. Another thing is I'm going to take out one of his lands, so he'll get a reflecting pool. There's a lot of options, actually. I could have put in a Kessig Wolf Run, which actually, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should do Kessig Wolf Run instead of reflecting pool. Kessig Wolf Run, of course, is a land that produces colorless or green-red tap. Target creature gets... no, I'm mixing it up with Skarg the Rage Spits. Kessig Wolf Run, you spend X green-red tap. Target creature gains plus X plus 0 in trample, where that's the... X is the number of mana you put in. Thematically, actually, I should put the Kessig Wolf Run in there. So forget about reflecting pool. Let me go get that Wolf Run. Okay, so here's the Kessig Wolf Run. As I said, it produces colorless or X green red tap. Target creature gets plus X plus 0 and trample till end of turn. So it won't give me colors. Sometimes your reflecting pool doesn't give you the exact color you need if you don't have another source of it already in play. But I have to admit that as far as this theme goes, this is better. It only gives 1 creature trample. I have to pump mana into it. It doesn't fit the theme of the deck that way, but still. Might be useful, might be nice. Okay, so we'll put that in instead. Alright, so what is... Well, here's the first card. So, Voja is losing the Wirewood Lodge. He's got a lot of elves, a lot of mana elves, but since the focus isn't on elves, I don't think he needs the Lodge as much. I mean, I already have Priest of Titania. I've got Elvish Archdruid, Birchlore Rangers. The ones that produce the insane amounts of mana, potentially, are the Archdruid and the Priest of Titania. Given that it's not an elf deck, and I only have 19 elves going down to 17 in the deck, they'd only reliably produce 3 or 4, which is still significant. So I don't really need to be untapping. Oh, this is damaged, isn't it? I never realized that. Holy shit. Can you see that? Can you see that crease? Probably the back will show it better. Wow. Yeah, it's foil, but it's definitely played, heavily played. I mean, can you see this crease here? I'm trying to get the light on it. Some of my cards, a lot of them I got from my friend Ricardo, who I think he's back in Costa Rica. He's either back in Costa Rica or Slovakia, most likely. But he loved foils, and he didn't care about condition, mainly because of his financial situation from time to time. So whenever he would get into financial crunch, he would sell me his foils, because he knew I would buy them. I would never refuse. But I would get ones that are well loved. So Tyvar, okay, Tyvar will get that, so I'll take it out of. Now my sleeves, I try to keep them all the same. For years, I only used KMC Super Black, only. So if I wanted to switch cards between decks, it was clean and elegant. Well, KMC became unavailable in Czech Republic. So then it was Ultra. Well, I'm not buying Ultra Pulse sleeves, no. Dragon Shield and Game Genic, and they're different. So if I bought Game Genic sleeves, they don't look, especially because there's matte, there's non-glare. So basically, my commander decks, instead of having complete interchangeability with the sleeves, essentially each deck has its own sleeves. It's as if I had a deck with blue sleeves, a deck with green sleeves, red, white, pink, anime tanks, you know, shit like that, like some people do. That's the functional equivalent. Now it's not that bad, because like 3 or 4 of my decks have Game Genic, 3 or 4 still have the old KMC Super Blacks, some of them have Dragon Shield. But anyway, so we'll put Kessig Wolf Run into Voja, see if it works. Of course, pretty much any card works in Voja, as long as it's a wolf or an elf, or it gives you the mana to cast them. Okay, so what else am I taking out? Actually, right here. So I don't really need to untap that many creatures with Voja. So I'm thinking of taking out either Seeker of Skybreak or the Quirion Ranger, because it's kind of duplicating an effect that I don't really need to duplicate, and I would like to, if I'm going to go down to 18 elves and 16 wolves, it seems like all I have to do is that one more, and I can have 17 wolves, 17 elves, and the deck will feel much better thematically. So just need to figure out what other elf I want to drop. Let's see. Oh look, I am Cheating Bastard. I do have a Cheating Bastard card. So he's wolf and elf, but he was too good to ignore. Where's the other card that I know I'm going to take out? Because, yeah. So, Voja doesn't really need Well Wisher. Not really. Tyvar the Bellicose, Kel is the Planeswalker, Tyvar the Bellicose, because I have ways of hurting myself real bad, to gain advantage, I do need the life gain, and I don't think the one Essence Warden is going to be sufficient. So we'll take Well-Wisher out of Voja, who doesn't really need it. Of course, life gain is good. Does he? Oh shit! I don't even have an Essence Warden in Voja. Huh. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot. What do I still have for life gain? I have Tolsmere, Friend of Wolves. Whenever a wolf comes into play under my control, if he's in play, I gain 3 life, and that creature fights another creature that I don't control, up to 1. Actually, let's take a... What other life gain do I have? Probably not that much. Oh, I've got the Packwood Pup. Let's see... Looking for life gain, so I'm just kind of slipping through right quick. Not... Okay, so... Gain 1 life. Yeah. If I'm so low that this 1 life matters, I'm in deep trouble. I'm going to die. Let's see, what other life gain do I have in here? Let's take out... Okay. So Voja does not have Burgeoning, does not have Exploration, does not have any cards that allow me to pull multiple lands into play. Tyvar the Bellicose, I don't think I put in any other cards. So if I take out one of these effects, if I take out either Seeker of Skybreak or Quirion Ranger, it's reducing... Where is Seeker of Skybreak? It's reducing the duplication of an effect to untap a creature. Where is Seeker of Skybreak? Dun, 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 dun. Should probably still keep looking for life gain. No life. Nope. 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 Where's more life gain? Huh. And my wife and daughter doing my daughter's homework, and my daughter is obviously having a good time. Let's see. There's Tolsmere, Friend of Wolves. So if he's play, whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under my control, I gain 3 life, and I can have the wolf fight something else if I want to. Reconnaissance. So I can attack with Abandon. If I attack and I don't like what's going to happen, I can simply pull those creatures back from combat. So if I attack, someone says, "Settle the wreckage, motherfucker!" I can say, yeah, everybody's going home. I'm doing a tactical retreat. And then I'll get you next turn, because I know you only have 1 copy. Settle the wreckage in your commander deck. Let's see. There's Seeker Skybreak. So... And to be fair, oh yeah, I can exile my own creature and gain life. That's a real good fucking idea. Huh. Oh, yeah, I've got Fraction Gust. So I can blow up all the artifacts and enchantments and gain 2 life for each. Okay, so that's some decent life gain. That's not bad. 1 shot. Punch through. What else? Semester's End. Nope, no, doesn't do it. Let's see. Pack Song Pup. Beginning of combat of your turn, if you control another wolf or werewolf, he gets a +1/+1 counter. When he dies, I gain life equal to its power. So since part of the name of the deck is, put counters on stuff, he can get real big real fast. Then if he dies, I gain a lot of life. So anyway, let's hurry up so I can get to Tyvar. I'm already 10 minutes in. Okay. So what is the difference between these? One green for 1/1. 1 green and colorless for 2/1. Untap target creature. Put a forest near your hand to tap target creature only once per turn. Okay, so Tyvar will lose the Quirion Ranger. Tyvar will gain the Quirion Ranger. And Voja will lose the Quirion Ranger to get this Ambush Wolf. So now Voja is balanced. Now Voja has 17 elves, 17 wolves. I feel much better about the deck now. So Thursday I should take him out to the ball game and see how he does. Something else I plan to do is, once I have more funding, he's missing his Arid Mesa and Sacred Foundry. I needed them to finish another deck, and I took them out because he's got all these. As long as he gets green and he gets some elves, he can make up for the red and white, because he's got Birchlow Rangers. He's got Wood Elves that can go find a shock land. The color I need. What else does he have that makes multiple colors? Not much, actually. They make mainly green. Oh, Elvish Harbinger can tap for 1 mana of any color. But anyway, so that solves Voja. Feel much better at Voja. Let's look at Tyvar the Bellicose. Let's put him in a way where you can see it. That's fucking glare. So Tyvar. 2 black-green for a 5/4. So pretty good stats for his mana cost. Whenever one or more elves I control attack, they get Death Touch until the end of the turn. Each creature you control also has, whenever a mana ability of this motherfucker resolves, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the amount of mana this creature produced. This ability only triggers once per turn. I have a second copy of. Oh shit. Oh wow. Oh, it's black. It's black. Blame my last. I bought this version and I bought the other version because they both look cool, and I thought when I picked them up for Trinity Teach I would look into both, and whichever one had a shitty foiling process I would reject that one and go with the other one. I looked at both and they both looked really nice. The foiling process was beautiful, so I picked up them both, and I just had the thought, oh, I could run him in Voja. No, I can't, because of that skull symbol. You can't be in Voja, Tyvar. He's like, fuck Voja. I want to be in charge of elves. Well, fine. Yeah, bastard. Okay, let's just look at the mana base right quick for Tyvar. So I've got Command Tower, pretty simple. Côté Fantôme, Ghost Quarter. I don't really use these that much, but I think it's nice to have it. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. A way to deal with lands. So this can destroy a land, non-basic land, and then its controller can search their library for a basic land and put it in play tapped. Right, NG. Where's that? Let's see. Let me just take a look. Because sometimes, sometimes I don't get it right. Okay, screw it. Gilt-Leaf Palace comes into play. Show everybody. The deck has 40 elves. So if I don't have an elf in my hand, either I just drew this late game and all my elves are in play and beating the shit out of people, or I've got a really, really bad opening hand. So if I do show an elf, it comes into play untapped. Llanowar Waste, the Brothers of War edition. Painland. What can I say? Ornreath of Vast Wood. This deck has a +1/+1 counter theme, so this fits into it. Comes into play tapped. Tap, add green to my mana pool. Tap, put a +1/+1 counter on every green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. I've only got one black creature in this deck, and I'm thinking of taking her out. Making, 100% green. Overgrown Tomb. Shockland. Path of Ancestry comes into play tapped. Tap, add one. It's a command tower with scry. It's a command tower that if you're playing tribal, it has scry. That's the best way to think about this damn thing that comes into play tapped. So add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When it's spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type the commander, scry 1. Well, the deck, it was going to be 100% elves. 100%. What actually happened is there's a creature that is too good to ignore in the strategy of the deck. And and it's not an elf. It's also not Critterhoof Behemoth, so you can forget about that. And I had to justify it. How do I justify this non-elf? Well, it's a monster. And elves live in the woods. And as we know from all the stories, there's always a monster in the woods. So that's what this creature is going to be, the monster in the woods that the elves fight. Twilight Mire, Verdant Catacombs, Woodland Cemetery. This one came out of a foil set of Dark Ascension I bought years ago. And I plan to keep it for the art. 3 months later, I broke it open so I could start using the cards for commander decks. There you go. You have my Cradle of Growth. Every land is a forest in addition to its other types. Because there's an Elvish champion here, and she gives all my elves Forest Walk. So if I can make sure that all my opponents have forest, I can Forest Walk the shit out of them. The deck has 6 swamps. What is it? 15? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 forest. The deck is green with a splash of black. Black is definitely not the primary color of this deck. Definitely not. So let's see, what else do we have? Okay, Planeswalkers. Tyvar I. So I've got Tyvar the Bellicose as the commander. I've got his happy planeswalking version as part of the deck. 2 green. Elvish control have tap, add 1 black, which is perfect for him. So if there's a situation where I'm getting the elves ready, getting ready to attack, I can tap them to add black, and they get a +1/+1 encounter, so I can make my elves bigger that way. +1, put a +1/+1 encounter up to 1 target elf, untap it, it gains death touch until end of turn. Create a green elf warrior creature token, and then -6 is emblem. Whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, and you draw 2 cards. Nice. Very nice. I like it. Is he going to stand up if I do that? Kind of. Fucking glare. There we go. So Tyvar I. Vivian Reed. She's in here to help deal with artifacts, enchantments, and flying creatures, because it's elves. They don't fly. They haven't figured out jet technology yet. 3 green for 5 loyalty planeswalker. +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can show everybody creature or land from among them, put it in your hand, and the rest go on the bottom in a random order. Or for -3, you can Broken Wings. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. And then -8, which would take me 4 turns to get to, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2 vigilance, trample, and indestructible. So that's kind of nice. I kind of like that. Beast Whisper. 2 green for 2/3 elf. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Bramblewood Paragon. There are not a lot of warriors in this deck. Now, Tyvar I, he creates a green elf warrior tokens, which is going to create memory issues if I have her and they start getting counters, but I'll deal with that later. For right now, I don't have a lot of warriors. So each other warrior creature control comes into play with additional +1/+1 counter. And yeah, that's nice. But each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Each creature control has, whenever a mana ability of this motherfucker resolves, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana this creature produced. It only triggers once per turn. But she says, hey, your Priest of Titania just made 10 mana. She gets, he says she gets 10 +1/+1 counters. And she says, and she has trample. Yeah, I'm cheating. So this is an elf. It has changed. It is an elf, but not really. And I don't really like the idea of cheating with changelings, but and this is not the monster. It's not. 2 green for 4/4 protection for black. Okay, already that's pretty damn good. 2 green, pay its casting cost, and its power and toughness doubles. Pay it again, and you can double it again. So if I have 8 to spend, I can make this an 8/8, then a 16/16 protection for black. So whoever's playing black is going to have a bad day. Yeah, it's not natively an elf, but yeah, sue me. Copperhorn Scout, 1 green for 1/1 elf scout. Whenever she attacks, untap all your other creatures. It doesn't matter why you tap them. So if I tapped creatures for mana, I still get to untap them, so I could use them for mana again. Here is the monster in the woods. So the monster in the woods, Defiler of Vigor. He was too good to ignore for this deck, and I'll tell you why. So 5, 3 colorless green for a 6/6 trample. Okay, that's not why. Additional cost to cast green permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost green less to cast. So basically, he turns all the green symbols on my permanents into Phyrexian mana symbols. Which is why I need the Well-Wisher, which is why I need the life gain. And whenever I cast a green permanent spell, I put a +1/+1 counter on each creature I control. That was too good to ignore, especially when I have the Bramblewood Paragon. So if all my creatures have +1/+1 counters, she gives them all trample. I couldn't pass that up. So I made one accommodation for the monster in the woods. And besides, there has to be a monster in the woods. There has to be. Do you know why? Because if you don't have a monster in the woods for the elves to fight, for the elves to worry about, what's going to happen? They're going to sit around smoking dope all day. Okay? They're just going to sit around taking bong hits. Especially this guy. You can't tell me this guy doesn't do bong hits. You know, he's sort of going, I was going to answer Ladomri's call, but then I got high. I was going to take my turn on the southern wall, but then I got high. I was going to shag Belby, but then I got high. Okay. So Defiler of Vigor is a monster in the woods. Dinas, Elvish Archdruid. 3 and a green for a 3/3 Elf Druid. Elvish control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Only once per turn. So, if I tap them for mana, because of Tyvar I, they all get counters, and they all untap. So I can do it again. For the mana, or I can attack with them, and they're bigger. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this deck performs. Really, I feel like I cracked the code for black-green for myself. The last black-green deck I had was Mirren, and it was unsatisfactory after a few years. She did okay, and then she couldn't hold up anymore. So, I took her apart, and eventually she became Mulderatha. And I didn't have a black-green deck for a long time, because I kept thinking in terms of some kind of graveyard deck. And then I got the idea a couple weeks ago. So yeah, the Genie has a black-green elf deck. That didn't really inspire me. In fact, it almost kept me from doing this because I don't want to ride his coattails. He's got, I forget the name of the elf, but she costs 4, just like he does. And you tap 10 elves and all your opponents take 10 points of damage, or something like that, some shit like that. That's what he's doing. He doesn't attack that much. It's more tricky. That's the way he plays. I want to attack. I want to smash face. So that's why I'm building Tyvar, to be bellicose. So I've got Dwayne and Guiltleaf Dane, 2 green for a 3/4 reaching elf. Other elves I control get +1/+1. Whenever she attacks, I gain 1 life for each attack. Okay, so that's more life gain. Of course, if I'm eating my life, because all my green permanents have Phyrexian mana, I'm going to need to gain that life back. So she's going to work. And speaking of hurting myself, Elves Lilith here. So green for a 1/1 Elf Druid. Tap, add black to your mana pool, and she deals 1 damage to me. You know, just like a narcissistic girlfriend. She'll give what you want, but it's going to hurt you deep in your soul. Elvish Archdruid. 1 green for 2/2. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Tap, add 1 mana for every elf you control. Elvish Champion. 1 green for 2/2 elf. Other elves get +1/+1 at Forest Walk. Either way, I'm getting through. The Paragon is going to give all my elves trample, or she's going to give them all Forest Walk, or both, in which case the trample doesn't matter. My elves are going to beat the shit out of people. You stepped in the wrong woods. 2 and a green for a 1/2 Elf Druid, Elvish Harbinger. When she comes into play, I can go look for an elf card in my library, show everybody, then shuffle and put it on top. And she taps 1 mana of any color. Elvish Hunter. Yes, Fallen Empires. I have a Fallen Empires card, and I chose it. This isn't something I've had for 30 years. This isn't something I acquired in a collection I bought. This is something that I was looking at elves on Gatherer, just to see what might have come out in the last few years that I missed, and she popped up. So I went to my LGS website, and I chose her, and I paid for her a Fallen Empires card. Why? 1 green for 1/1 elf. 1 green, 1 and a green tap. Target creature does not tap as normal during its controller's next and tap step. So as long as something gets tapped on my opponent's fields, if I don't want them attacking me with it, or I don't want them using it, if it's a creature, I can just keep it tapped down with her. I mean, why not? Sometimes that sort of small advantage can win you a game, or at least stop you from losing it so badly. Elvish Lyrist. There's another one in here that does this for artifacts. I need to remember what it is, but I've got other ways to deal with that. Green for a 1/1 elf. Spin green, tap, and destroy target enchantment. And this is the beautiful Rebecca Gay art with this nice Percy Bysshe Shelley quote. Make me thy lyre, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? I really like these. I wish they would do these again. Put real world literature quotes on the cards. I know that they can't really put them in other languages, but they could try. Anyway, this guy was kind of, compared to the other versions of Elvis Mystic, he was kind of expensive, but I really wanted this art. I really like it. He's a Llanowar Elves with cool art, and I overpaid for it, but yeah. I buy the cards for the aesthetics of the cards and not just what they do. It already has dust inside the sleeves from my disintegrating cardboard boxes. Okay, I can't have Eternal Witness because of the only elves thing. I already made one exception for the Defiler Vigor being the monster in the woods. I'm not going to make another exception for... Oh, I thought that was dust. It's actually a little bit of light under her shoulder. Can you see it? Just a little... Anyway. So, I'm not making an exception for Eternal Witness. So I've got this guy. He only deals with permanents though, and he costs more. So instead of a 1 and green for a 2/1, it's 2 green for a 4/3. And when he comes into play, I return a permanent card from my graveyard to hand. So he will not let me pick up instants, sorceries, any of that shit. He only wants to deal with things that stick around. Elvish Visionary. 1 and green, 1/1 elf. When she comes into play, draw a card. And Shaman. Remember, Shaman is going away. Wizards, in their infinite stupidity, has decided Shaman has some sort of racist or colonizer over to some bullshit. You know, they're gone off the fucking deep end with their woke bullshit. If you want to hear me talk more about that, search my videos for the Sinful Seven. Yes, the Sinful Seven. And I go off on their nonsense. Elvish Warmaster. 1 of green for a 2/2 elf warrior. Okay, so the Paragon will make him bigger. Whenever one or more other elves comes into play in my control, I get another green warrior creature token, only once per turn. And then if I spend 7, my elves get +2/+2 and Death Touch until end of turn. So I know he works. I've seen him on Arena. Essence Warden. Green for a 1/1 elf shaman. Whenever another creature comes into play, you gain 1 life. Fantastic against token decks. I make 8 squirrels. Oh, okay, I gain 8 life. You're not really helping me win the game. Well, quit making so many fucking squirrels. Is there a renegade leader? I actually thought about putting Kamal. I've got a Kamal Fist of Krosa that isn't in any decks, but he does it for elves. It's the same thing. Kamal is 6 mana. He costs half of what Kamal does. Kamal, of course, is a 4/5. He's only a 2/2. But I can regenerate my other elves, and I can spend 2 triple green. My elves get +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. Kamal does that for all your creatures. You spend 2 triple green, or maybe it's 3 green. Anyway, no, it's 5 for Kamal. And all your creatures get +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. One time during a game years ago with a friend of mine, I was playing Saproling, so I just kept making tokens and tokens and tokens and tokens. And I had a guy's cradle, and at one point I had so many damn tokens that I was able to tap the cradle, and either I tapped it for so much mana, or I tapped it for that mana, played a second cradle to destroy it. Somehow I triggered Kamal 15 times. All I remember really, not exactly how I did it, but I do distinctly remember triggering Kamal 15 times, giving all of my creatures plus 45, plus 45, and super trample until end of turn. So, you know, if I spend 20 mana, I'll get +12, +12. Yeah, the possibilities. Heart Warden. I should probably put him in Korvald, actually. But, yeah, Korvald's working really nicely now. He doesn't really need it. 1 in green for a 1/1 elf. He taps 1 green. Or I can spend 2, sacrifice, and draw a card. Heritage Druid. 1 green for a 1/1 elf druid. Tap 3 and tapped elf you control. Add 3 green to your mana pool. And they don't have to be ready to go. You can play some elves, you can make some tokens, and immediately tap them for mana because she does not have the tap symbol. You can just go to town. Imperious Perfect. Still kind of a toss-up between... I've got some Foundations foil copies of her, but I do like how the old frame looks, so still thinking of, do I want the foil or do I want the full frame? So far, obviously, I'm still sticking with the full frame. 2 in a green for a 2/2 elf warrior. My other elves get +1/+1. Green, tap, put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token in play. Kesa. She's been errated to elf. She is an elf druid now. 3 green for a 2/3. All green creatures you control get plus from all of them. So she comes into play and automatically becomes a 3/4. She's not really efficient. Doesn't have any other abilities, but I want to play her. In all of my decks, what I try to do, to go back to what somebody said a few months ago, I am playing €700 decks at a €70 level, and that's intentional. I don't want to spark an arms race. I want all of my decks to be strong, to be capable, to be fun to play, but I don't want them to absolutely dominate the table. That's why I have the 3 decks for Astruzhna. That's why I maintained Carador for longer than I should have. So I had a weakest deck to play against newer players, but now I just use Frodo and Sam or Galadriel. So all my decks have a few less than fully efficient cards that are just fun, that I just like. I've always liked Kesa. I've always liked the idea of her. So she's going in here just because, to kind of even out the deck, to power it down a bit. Because I could put something far more efficient, but I don't want to. Leap Ground Visionary, green for a 1/1. Other elves I control get +1/+1. Whenever I cast an elf spell, I may pay 1 green and draw a card. Llanowar Elephant. So this is Mystic Druid. Mystic Druid is just a Llanowar Elf with a different name. Llanowar Elf is just Mystic Druid with another name. Listen, Lana Bonemaster. If you noticed, I haven't shown you any flying creatures so far. None. The deck has no flying creatures. So I've got to figure out how to deal with them. So 2 and a green for a 2/2 Reacher. Reaching Archer. Whenever I play an elf spell, he can deal 2 damage to target creatures flying. So if I chain together a few elf spells, I can bring down some dragons and shit. Marwyn the Nurturer. 2 and a green for a 1/1 elf druid. What is this moisture from? There's some moisture on the cards. My hands are perfectly dry. I don't think any ceiling... I don't think I've got a leak in the ceiling. Anyway. Good thing I've got sleeves. 2 and a green for a 1/1 elf druid. When another elf I control... The wording is fucking weird. I still... Whenever another elf you control enters... Why doesn't it... That you control... How the fuck else would an elf come into play that I control that isn't... It should say... Whenever another elf enters under your control. Is that why they did it? They just want to take out the word under? Whenever another elf enters, they've already cut that down. It should be... Comes into play under your control. She gets a +1/+1 encounter. This wording is just fucking nonsense. And you can tap her for amount of green mana equal to her power. You can tap her for power. Giggity. Okay, I'm thinking of taking her out and just going with all green and green-black creatures. So, Marathon of the Glade. 1 and a black for a 1/2 elf scout. Whenever she or another elf I control dies, I may pay 1 and 1 life if I do draw a card. I'm not sure. I'm not really doing heavy graveyard effects. I'm not really pushing the deck that direction. So I don't know if she's worth the slot. If when my creatures die, I have to have mana available to activate her. Maybe I'll play her for a little while and see if she works. Maybe she's better than I'm thinking now. No Mage Shepherd, but Oran Reef won't give her anything because she's not green. Oran Reef's of Asteroid only cares about green creatures. Null Mage Shepherd, 3 green for 2/4 Elf Shaman. You can tap 4 and tap creatures you control to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Just bang, blow it up as soon as she comes into play. As long as you have 3 other creatures. What?
Willie sent you a message.
What does it say?
I don't know, I can't open it.
Okay, well just wait, I'm almost done.
Okay, what is that? Is that a zombie?
That's a poison tip archer. He's 2 green, black
So
for a
he's a
2/3
zombie.
elf. No, what does this say?
He looks like a zombie.
What does this say?
Creature, elf, archer.
So where does it say zombie?
No, but his face looks like a zombie a bit.
Well, he's not.
Or does he have a mask?
Maybe, it's kind of weird. He's got a weird face.
Yeah. But there is his little ear.
He might have, this art might have been for a zombie, and they just recycled the art to be this guy. Maybe he was supposed to be some kind of zombie. I don't know.
Well, because the black hair looks like that on his face looks like that he has a mask or a zombie or anything. I don't know.
Yep. Well, anyway, he can block creatures with flying. He has Death Touch, and whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life.
What is it?
Yep. That's Priest of Titania. She's 1 in a green for a 1/1 elf. You can tap her, and you get 1 green for every elf in play.
She's pretty.
Yep. That's Rebecca Gay art. It's always nice. And then this is, he's not natively an elf, but he counts as an elf because he's every creature type. 2 in a green for a 2/3.
Like a head. Some stone head.
Yeah. Yeah, basically that's what that is.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, ciao ciao. So, comes to play, choose a creature type. Oh, elf. Sounds pretty good. I can look at the top card of my library whenever I feel like it, and I may cast creature spells of the chosen type from the top of my library. Reclamation Sage. When she comes into play, blow up an artifact or enchantment. Yep, pretty simple. Shaman of the Pack. 1 black-green for a 3/2. When she comes into play, target opponent loses life equal to the number of elves I control. So I'm not going to just want to run her out there early in the game. I'm going to want to hang on to her until I have a bunch of elves and then hurt somebody real bad. Taunting Elf, the Pothead. So Smokey here, green for a 0/1. 0/1 elf. But all creatures able to block him do so. So if he's attacking, and I've got a bunch of other guys attacking, everybody has to go for him. Because he's an asshole. And they want to get him. So that means everybody else gets through. Verdian Zealot. Green for a 2/1 elf warrior. Comes into play. Not comes into play. Spend 1 in green, sack him, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This guy used to be really expensive, but not anymore. So that's almost all the creatures. There's not a whole lot left. I mean, the deck is like 40 creatures. Wildborn Priest. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this. I'm still thinking about that. Come on, cat. I'm still thinking about it. So 1 in a green for 2/2 flashing archer with reach. Whenever another non-human creature comes into play under my control, I can pay X. When I do, he gets X plus and plus encounters. So it could be a token. I can make a token elf. And then spend some mana, put a bunch of counters on this guy. I'm curious to see if he works out. Wirewood Channeler, 3 in a green for a 2/2 elf. I'm sure he must be a druid or a shaman or something. They must have updated that in a great creature type update that happened 20 years ago or so. So anyway, you tap him, add X mana of any one color to mana pool, where that's the number of elves play. So basically he's 2 Priest of Titanias slammed together, and you can choose the color. So if I need black, he can give me the black, whereas Priest of Titania only gives me green. Wood Elves, 2 in a green for a 1/1 summon creature. So this is from Portal. And something interesting is the Portal wording is, when Wood Elves comes to play from your hand, search your deck for forest and put the card in play. Shuffle afterwards. The other Wood Elves, they just say comes into play. So let me just look that up. Yeah, the other ones, when they come into play, but the Portal one says from your hand. So if you blink it or something, according to the way it's worded, this one would not go and find you a forest. Kind of interesting that they did that for Portal. Yiva, Nature's Herald. 2 green for a 4/4 elf shaman. She's flashy, and she makes all my other green creature cards flashy too. Alright, now we're getting into the non-creatures, finally. Exsanguinate. I feel kind of dirty about having this in here, but my last experience with playing an elf deck was the deck is kind of shaky. A bunch of small creatures, they get knocked down by Starstorm, they get knocked down by Wrath of God, they get knocked down by Toxic Deluge, So I need another way to win. So if my opponents, smashing each other, and I, smashing them too, can get them down to some level, then I can finish them off with an exsanguinate. Yes, it's a one card kill. It's a potential line of play. I don't plan to lean into it. I plan mainly if the Defiler of Vigor, if I've been using him a lot and I need the life, well, I take it from my opponent so I can keep casting green permanents for life. Green Sun Zenith. Green and X, go find a green creature card with X mana cost or less, throw it into play, then shuffle. And this gets shuffled in your library too. You actually have to shuffle your library twice. So you go find the green creature, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And then you shuffle this into your library after you shuffled it. Okay. Maelstrom Pulse. Token Killer. 1 green black, destroy target non-land permanent, and everything else the same name as that permanent. Obviously in Commander this only works on tokens for the most part. I mean, it'll blow up other things, but then it's just Vindicate. Patriarchs, Bidding. Yeah, strong possibility all my elves are going to die at one time or another. So I need a way to get them back, to put them back to work, put them back to beating the shit out of people. So 3 green, green, 3 green, green. Oh my god, what if Patriarch's Bidding was a green card? That'd be hilarious. 3 black, black. Everybody chooses a creature type. Then everybody returns all creature cards of that type they chose back to play from the graveyard. So I'm going to pick elves. And everybody else is going to wonder what the hell they should pick, because they're typically going to have a melange of creature types in their graveyard. And they're going to have to scramble to figure out what type would be best to bring back. Heroic Intervention, yeah, all my stuff becomes hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. Corrosive Grip. So, one of the things that screwed me over last time I played an elf deck was artifacts and enchantments. So I've gone a bit, made sure I have ways of dealing with them. Green, 2 and a green with split second speed. Pow! Blow up an artifact or enchantment. Repopulate. So if my elves get killed and somebody's going to Bajuka Bog me, because people know I like bringing stuff back out of my graveyard, so they like to Bajuka Bog me, I can instantly shuffle all my creature cards back into my library. Or if somebody's playing a Resurrection Reanimation deck and they've got a lot of creatures in their deck, or the Mimeoplasm, for example. If Cube plays Mimeoplasm and he's got his fucking instant heal combo in the grip, Badow! Shuffle all those creature cards from your graveyard back in your library. Mimeoplasm comes into play with sweet fuck all. Bang. Urborg Justice. Maybe I won't keep this in, maybe will. Haven't fully decided. This is still the draft of the deck. Black, black, instantly. Target opponent chooses, they sacrifice. Creatures equal to the number of creatures that died on my side so far. The wording is really funny. Target opponent chooses and buries, meaning sacrifices. Buries is the old keyword. I wish they'd bring it back. It's so elegant. But they don't have regeneration, so bury means destroyed, cannot regenerate. That's what bury, the keyword, means. A number of creatures he or she controls equal to the number of creatures put into your graveyard from play so far this turn. So if there's some mass extinction event, like a Wrath of God or Damnation, and I somehow manage to flash some of the creatures into play, and those get killed too, I can Urborg Justice. Or a better example would be, let's say there's a Damnation, I do Urborg Justice, and then I manage to flash in, say, Yiva, and then she gets killed too. Well, she wouldn't count. Anyway, it's a funny card. Rapid Vigor. A bit more protection for my creatures. Because black and green, They don't have the protection white does. They don't have Furious Protection, Clever Concealment, Ghost Wave. They don't have any of that. Black can help you bring stuff back out of the graveyard, and green can help certain things not go to the graveyard. Doesn't do anything against exile. Black and green really can't do anything against exile, except give your permanents hexproof or shot or something. So I've got Rapid Vigor. 1 on the green, regenerate all my creatures. So if somebody does Starstorm and does X damage to all my creatures to kill them, I can regenerate them so they don't get buried. Okay, here's where the deck is getting interesting. Let me take a drink of tea. Okay, Banner of Kinship. 5. As it comes into play, choose a creature type. Comes into play with a fellowship counter on it for each creature I control as it enters play. So, as it's coming down, once I announce it, before it resolves, if anybody wants to make this smaller, they better start killing my creatures. Because once it's in play, and it's locked in, my creatures get +1/+1 for every creature of the chosen type. So let's say I have 10 elves. I'm casting this. Somebody kills 2 of my elves to make it smaller. So it comes into play, 8 elves. It gets 8 counters. All my elves get +8/+8. Then to back it up, Coat of Arms. Simply every creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature in play that shares a creature type with it. This one's a bit more dangerous, because if, say, Cube is playing elves, or worse yet, he's playing Eldrazi, and he's got 4 or 5 Eldrazi, they all get +4/+5. 4 or 5 depending. So if your opponents are playing tribal, you need to play your Coat of Arms carefully, because it can bite you in the ass. And then I've also got Door of Destinies, because I realize, like I said, playing a bunch of small creatures leaves you open, so you need to make them big, make them threats. So Door of Destinies costs 4. Comes to play, choose a creature type. Whenever you play a spell of the type, it gets a charge counter. So Banner of Kinship comes into play and locks in. Door of Destinies comes in, and you have to play spells, those creature spells, and it grows. Now, it doesn't count tokens or anything, just creature spells, so there you go. These are actually coming out, and I'll explain why in just a moment. And then there's also Vanquisher's Banner. Comes to play, choose a creature type. They all get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a card of that type, draw a card. Whenever you cast a creature spell of that type, draw a card. Attrition. 1 black, sacrifice creature. Kill a non-black creature. So if I'm making tokens, or if I have ways to resurrect my creatures, then I can just start sacrificing them to wipe out my opponent's field. And then if that's not effective enough, I can go 2 for 1. If I have Attrition and Dictate of Erebos in play, I sacrifice a creature to kill the creature, and then because I sacrificed a creature, my opponent sacrificed another creature. Growing Rites of this. There's no Cradle in the deck. This is the Cradle. 2 and a green enchantment. Comes into play. Look at the top 4 cards of my library. I can show everybody a creature card from those 4. Put it in my hand, and the rest go on the bottom in any order. And then at the beginning of my end step, for those of you that have not seen this card before, I can flip it over if I have 4 creatures at the end, and it becomes Gaia's Cradle. Although it can still tap for 1 green, Gaia's Cradle only taps for each creature you control. So if you have no creatures, Gaia's Cradle gives you nothing. If I have no creatures, at least this gives me 1 green. Put this back in the sleeve. If it'll go in. There it goes. Alright. So, how do I get the tokens? Well, here's one method. 1 and a black. Tribal enchantment. We never see this anymore. Tribal. They kind of killed that. Whenever another non-token elf is put in my graveyard for play, I may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token in play. Well, why wouldn't I? Spider Silk Armor. 2 and a green. It gives my creatures reach and +0/+1. So it helps. It helps the problem of having all these small creatures. It takes some of the sting out of it. But it also takes the sting out of not having any flying creatures, because all my creatures now have reach if this is in play. And that's it. That's the deck. Let me just explain these. So these, Swiftfoot Boots, Slate of Ancestry, 4 tap, discard your hand, draw a card for each creature you control. Well, that should be pretty damn good in an elf deck, right? Skull Clamp, 1. Clamp 1/1 creature, draw cards. That can be good. Realm Walker lets me cast creatures off the top of my library, so if I can manipulate the top 3 and always have a creature there, that can help me. And then Boots, I mean, shit. But these are all coming out because I have successfully locked in a Null Rod. So the deck is going to get a Null Rod, and because I know it's coming, I'm going to take out all the artifacts with an activation cost. So this has an activation cost to equip. This has an activation cost to draw your activation cost to equip. Activation cost to look at the top 3. Activation cost to put it on top and draw the card. Null Rod, for those of you who don't know, is an artifact that costs 2. It's on the reserve list. And activated abilities of artifacts cannot be activated. It just shuts them off. So I'm going to, now I could still run these and just have non-bows, so if I got my Null Rod out, none of these work, but I don't like that. I don't like doing that. The other thing I'm thinking of putting in, now that I've locked in the Null Rod, and the way I got that is I had a collection of cards, just this vast melange of different things, different sets, and it was worth about 300 euros. So I sold it to one of the lads I play with, one of the newer lads. So he's got a lot to work with. He was just like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything with all this. As it would just, I mean, shit, poke through it. You've got a lot now. And I took that money and I put it towards the Null Rod. And that hopefully will arrive. Ordered it from a seller in my country. So it should come in before the game on Thursday if he ships it on Monday. So if Null Rod goes out, then I still have these 3. What if I took out that for Winter Orb? Winter Orb is an artifact, costs 2, and it just sits there. It just sits there and says, nobody can untap more than 1 land per turn. It pisses people off, and it pushes the deck into bracket 4 because it's mana denial. But I've got to figure out some way of dealing with, I've got all these small creatures. Alright, let me get this posted.